And we're live. I am so excited. Hello to everybody. Hello to everybody on replay, because the nice thing about people on replay is I know that they've joined at the beginning. So I know that I'm saying hello to somebody. You can never tell with the live audience whether anyone's going to join for the first few minutes or indeed at all. But I am super excited. I've been excited all morning because we're going to be speaking, as the title says, all about side saddle with Clare Barnett. And I'm particularly excited because I know nothing about side saddle. It's a completely new world. So I'm going to be, I don't even know the questions to ask. So I hope you're all going to get your questions going. I know what I'm interested in, but honestly, I know nothing about this. So that is why I'm finding it so exciting. So such a super opportunity for me to go into a whole new world. I am fascinated that some disciplines require a horse to do one thing and another discipline, just as positive in every way, requires a horse to do the exact opposite. So I'm absolutely delighted. First thing I need to do is put up the invite. Okay, so to ask, good morning, everybody. Who we got? Good morning, Nicola and Lisa and Chris and Rachel and other Lisa and Tracy and Moira and Marbeth. Good morning, good morning, good morning. To ask Claire a question, or me, but don't ask me a question about side saddle. Well, I'm rider confidence and that's it. Okay, or me. I'll put or me, but yeah. I mean, if you, quite honestly, if you get onto this broadcast and ask me a question, like that. Okay, so I am absolutely delighted. Let's get on with it straight away. There's the invite. Click. There's the invite. Can you see the invite? Can everybody see the invite there? Beautiful. That all seems to be working. It's come up on YouTube. It's come up on Facebook. Good morning to everybody. So without any further ado, I'm not going to say anything other than it's about side saddle and it's with Claire, and that's the end of my knowledge. So let's get our guest on, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome Claire. Hello.
Hi.
Who's that?
This Harvey.
Yeah. Harvey. Hi, Harvey.
He comes out saddle fitting with me.
So just to, well, I was just going to say just how we met. We've only met once. You came here last week to fit a side saddle for Zana to, I'll shut up. I'm going to let you introduce yourself and everything that you want to say.
Thanks. I'm a master saddler. Got an apprentice and two that have passed through. So I approached Quest, which is the charitable arm of the Royal Warrant Holders, to see if they would give me a grant to go and learn to make side saddles. There's only one chap left who will teach us, and he's 83. So I'd just taken on an apprentice and I couldn't afford to do both. So they sponsored me, and I've travelled up to 3.
When?
Oh, golly. How long?
When was this?
How long have you been qualified? 3, 4 years ago? 3 years ago, yeah.
I started.
So let me get this right. 4 years ago,
yeah,
you're already a saddler and you went up and got apprenticed or some sort of learning course to the only side saddler in the country.
Well, he's the only one who originally worked at Champion and Wilton making side saddles, and he's the only one who will teach us. So, wow. Yeah, it was. I could take my daughter on, or I could afford to go on and do my side saddle courses. Wow. I couldn't afford to do both, and I thought that's why I approached Quest for funding, and they say that they will only take the top people of your craft to actually go off and do them. And fortunately, I was one of the ones that they funded.
So what was your interest in side saddle? Are you from a horsey family? Let's start at the beginning.
Absolutely not. No.
Oh, really?
I'm from Birmingham. Parents had no, absolutely not. But from about the age of 2, I was absolutely besotted with horses. Used to go and read all the books in the library. The only horse I ever met was the Rag and Bone Man's horse. Absolutely, totally transfixed with horses. And so I think in the end, parents looked at it as an insurance policy that I didn't go around and hang on street corners. They got me a horse, and we used to travel 20 miles each way to go and do the horse.
So yeah, I don't imagine you kept it in Birmingham.
It was on the outskirts. So yes, we had to travel out, do the horse. So I spent most of my youth on Clent Hills. And then back in the 70s, we moved down to the New Forest. And not look back. I've always.
Oh, are you still there? Where are you now?
We're just on the edge of the New Forest. We're in a place called Fordingbridge. So we're on the edge of the New Forest and Cranbourne Chase. So we have a Hampshire address, a Wiltshire postcode, but we're actually just in East Dorset. The boundary is at the bottom of my fields.
So what discipline did you do before you found side saddle, and what caused you to find side saddle?
I just rode. Did pony club. I did. Well, no, I didn't do carriage driving before I did side saddle. Back in the early 80s, a lady called Betty Skelton came over to one of the riding schools in the New Forest and shipped up with a load of saddles, and we could take our ponies up and have a go. Put a saddle on the pony, absolutely adored it. Went over to her place in Andover for lessons.
How old were you then?
I must have been about 15 or 16.
Oh really? Oh, that's incredible. So you've known that side saddle exists all your adult life?
Yeah. And parents could never afford to buy me a side saddle, so that went by the by. And it wasn't until I had a motorcycle accident and did my legs in, and so couldn't really do jumping and things. Took up carriage driving, and then was out on a job saddle fitting, and somebody marched in with a horse side saddle. I said, "Oh, I had a go at that. Really wanted to have a go at it. Only got ponies, not got anything that's suitable." And she said, "No, you need to have a go. We've got a tiny side saddle here." So she lent me, dear old Margaret lent me her side saddle. We plonked it on the pony, and the rest is history. It's very addictive. So I came back to it. And yeah, you can do anything side saddle that you can do astride.
Wow. So okay then. So let's start off. People who are interested in side saddle, where would you start? What would you watch first? If someone's here and it's never occurred. I mean, we all know side saddle exists. I've known it exists, and when we were at shows and that, you see the side saddle people. But when you kind of that something is there, and you never actually take the trouble to go, I wonder what that actually involves. And then when I was speaking to you last week, it's like, oh my God, there's a whole world. So for somebody like me watching this interview now, what do they watch? Where do they go? How would you introduce somebody?
The Side Saddle Association, because that's your national group.
I'm just going to write that down as a reminder.
And they often have a lot of have-a-go clinics in different areas. So they'll either come up with loads of side saddles and do the same as I did. You take your pony. We've run have-a-go clinics over at Lark Hill for the Saddle Club before, where we've used their Saddle Club horses and put side saddles on them, and everybody's come and had a day out. They've played dressing up with Alexandra's costumes. We've taught them.
Okay. So you just glossed over something there. Kind of, we'll just put them on a pony. Obviously, you're about to tell me a whole world of how. I mean, I'm assuming, because of the comments I get about trick riding and everything else, it's bad for the horse's back, it's bad for the horse's back. I'm assuming that uneducated people immediately start saying it's bad for the horse's back.
If your saddle's not balanced, and if your rider's not balanced, the same as any other saddle, it's going to cause a problem. So get it right. it is an art to fit it. They fit completely differently to an astride saddle because
In what way?
your panels are asymmetrical. So you have a large panel on one side and a smaller panel on the other side. It's deeper on one side than on the other side because you're going to carry most of your weight of your body on your right leg, but you've got the weight of both legs on the other side. So that it will then even out because you don't sit sideways. Everybody thinks that you sit sideways, but you actually don't. From behind, you should look exactly the same as you should do riding astride, apart from you.
So you presumably got to really twist your outside hip forwards.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right hip back. Right
hip back.
Right shoulder, right hip back.
Yeah, of course. Your legs are on the left, aren't they?
Yes. You can have side saddles.
So
not too many, but you do get that people cannot ride to the near side, so they ride to the other side.
Is that simply for the right-handed, left-handed thing? Some people are just very.
If you've got hip injuries, knee injuries, some people just find it easier. My daughter's left-handed; she rides normally.
So there has to be a certain amount of suppleness and flexibility. Is that?
Yes, to a point. To a point. I did a show with my big grey horse. It was only walk and trot, and I was in absolute dire straits. I did get a comment from the judge saying that rider could be a little bit more flexible, but if I'm just done my fourth stint with the chiropractor since then. And my daughter, who hasn't ridden on side saddle for 3 years, got on and rode, and we all hate her because she was just she's never actually managed to get round and having a lesson. She's just got on.
Oh, she's one of those, is she?
Yeah. It's sickening because Alexandra and I both work at it, and Victoria just does it.
Brilliant.
We don't like her very much.
Right, so you've turned up, like you turned up at ours last week. We dragged a horse out, but to be fair, our horses have done a lot. But usually, when a horse first comes out, do you need to introduce it to the saddle? Do you need to get the horse's head around the saddle?
Well, we like to make sure that the horse is back. So I'll always go up and have a poke at the horse's back and assess the back. Because if it hasn't got the top line, if it's weak, it's only going to cause problems. The same as because you're going to be using a whole different muscle group. So we just make sure that the horse is okay. Put the side saddle on. As long as we're happy with the way it's going to fit. Before you get on, we ask you to walk your horse around in quite tight circles, both ways, so that it feels, because the tree of a side saddle, on the left you have a long point, so it follows the rib cage round. So the horse won't have been used to that with an astride saddle. So it's going to feel that digging in its ribs, or not digging in, but putting pressure where it wouldn't necessarily have it. And it's going to feel the safe of the saddle because your left hand flap is a lot bigger. It'll go forward so that your leg sits on it. So some horses, they just look a little odd when it feels something sticking onto its shoulder. So we make sure that that's okay. Take you somewhere that you have a soft landing, hopefully, and pop you up on top.
So when somebody first gets up, presumably it feels weird. Do they feel that they're going to carry on over backwards to the right, or do they lean to the left too much, and you're always going, get in the middle, what's the common mistake?
A side saddle, actually, when you sit on it, is completely different to an astride saddle because it feels really flat.
It's a totally different shape.
Absolutely. So it feels flat. It feels like you've got a proper landing pad. So you sat on top. If the saddle's not balanced, or if you're using your stirrup, if your stirrup's too short, you'll tend to bring your left shoulder forwards and then start to drop out through the left-hand side. So with fitting a side saddle for a horse that's not done it and a novice rider is actually quite hard, because
yes,
both of them go, what on earth? But I was going to say, Kazana was actually really lovely and straight. She's got a good core.
Yeah, she was a gymnast, a ballet dancer. So and she's performed all her life doing trick riding. So
she sat on there, and we all went, "Oh, great, she's straight."
Quite. Oh, really?
Yeah. Although you're not straight because you've got your hip back and everything, but from behind, then you look straight. And if you're straight and you've got all the weight in your right leg, then you'll be balanced.
On the whole, do people feel that they're balanced and they're not, or do they feel that they're not balanced and they're falling off and they go, "No, I'm going to fall off," and you're going, "No, you won't. Just carry on."
No. Most people get on board and go, "Oh my goodness, I thought it was going to be really precarious, and I feel really safe." We've done a couple of days we did up at Quab where we put the side saddle on the mechanical horse. And then people haven't got to worry that the horse is going to scoot off. They haven't got to worry about steering. And within 3 minutes, they're all cantering.
I imagine you'd have quite enjoyed that, putting it on a mechanical horse, and then you can.
One of those to go into a dressage test. I could win doing one of those.
Oh, brilliant!
Peter would have to pull it around, but it was. I could look very elegant with one of those.
Super. Okay, then. So, $1 million question. I know what the answer is going to be to this question. How long does it take someone to get proficient, and to what level would you call a proficiency?
Proficient, right? Okay, so somebody who could walk, trot, and canter.
Mm-hmm. And is that in the competition? Because you have competitions, don't you? There's a whole competition circuit, isn't there?
Oh yeah. They each area the SSAs split into different areas. So each area will have their own shows, and you can go to other areas' shows. A lot of the county shows have side saddle classes, and then it all culminates. Not this year. First weekend of August, and we all ship up to the nationals up at Addington, and we get people come from Russia and Italy, and they all drive over with their horses, and it's 3 days that's absolutely bizarre because you never see anybody riding astride. So it's and I go up there and work.
So kind of just vaguely put us through what you'd be required to do on, say, a mid-level competition. I'm assuming there's tiers. Does it go as far as jumping at one end or not?
Of course it does. You can do anything side saddle that you can do astride. You can hunt. You can jump. You can race. We're all desperate to have a go at polo and skillet arms. We'd love to have a go at skillet arms side saddle, just because you can. Not because it's going to do anything, but you can. So you get your base level class, which is just a walk and trot. So if you've got a novice horse or a novice rider, they can go in with no pressure. That one, I don't think you have to wear a habit, not a costume, habit. You get your walk, trot, and canter classes. You'll get equitation classes where they're just judging your riding. You get the best horse and pony one where I think they'll have a small jump in. So mainly, and you can do your ridden dressage. So you compete against astride people doing ridden dressage. So you can do anything.
So you're quite right that I called it costume last night when we were on the old messenger chat. But costume, to me everything's costume. Would that get me thrown out of the competition if I accidentally said costume?
You wouldn't unless it's a costume class. You wouldn't use your costume and go into another class. You'd use a habit.
I'd be wearing my habit. So that's what Zana had on the other day, a habit.
No, she had a costume.
What's the difference?
A costume is historically inspired, or you can get the historically accurate classes. So they are the pretty ones. Then you've got your your normal habit would be a woolen cutaway, or some of them are cutaway, some of them aren't. A woolen hunting jacket with a woolen apron, either in black or navy, or tweed. You'd have your rat catcher. So you'd wear those with a waistcoat. If you're wearing it with a bowler hat, which would be before 12 o'clock. So you have your bowler hat, you have shirt and tie, and brown gloves. Always brown gloves. Even if your boots are black, you have brown gloves.
Right, with it.
A certain type of lady, or if you were in mourning, only they wore black gloves.
And you and I had a quick conversation that men do a reasonable amount of side saddle, or traditionally did. Would you like to just go over that again for the benefit of the audience?
Absolutely. People say that only ladies ride side saddle. That's a bit of a red rag to a bull for me. Back in the day when ladies rode side saddle and everybody had horses, a lady would never have broken her own horse into side saddle. That was the rough rider or the groom's job, and they were all men. So men were there for training. They would present the lady with a finished horse. So yes, men did ride side saddle. I've heard that gentlemen rode side saddle in the war to lay cables in the trench, so they could gallop along and just pull the cable out the sides. So whether that was side saddle or just sitting aside, I don't know. But after the war, a lot of chaps came back with and they were amputees. They couldn't ride. They were cavalry regiment, so they rode side saddle.
And is there a disability class in side saddle nowadays, like a para?
Yeah, we've got, I think, some of the top dressage riders are para, that are riding side saddle.
Wow.
Yeah, you can do everything.
Wow.
And as I say, we did a have a go clinic up at Larkhill, and the staff sergeant there turned around and said, "It's only for girls, isn't it?" So we sort of challenged him to a race. We gave him 6 months to learn to ride side saddle, and then said, "Right, you've got to do a 7 furlong race."
And the result was
we broke him. Unfortunately, he had a fall about a fortnight before the race, but Roger Edmonds came down and raced for us.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, okay, then. So I'm going to now, normally, because this is a video platform, I don't have time to sit and read the comments and answer the questions. So I normally insist that people come on and ask the question. But there's a bunch of little questions here. And so I'm just going to bob one up on the screen. And if you're answering the question, that'll give me time to go and find another question. So Yvonne says, how do you transfer the aids if a horse has always been ridden astride?
You have a cane. You have, that's mine. We have a long cane, under 14 to, I think it's 30 inches, over 14 to up to a metre, but the longer canes can look a bit like a fishing rod. It's as long as a dressage whip. It's a lot firmer, and that is your leg. So you would, as you use your left leg, you apply your cane where your leg is, and if you're going to use your leg further back, you put your cane there, and they take to it, no problems.
And you're saying cane, so that looks how thick is that? That
one's about the same thickness as my finger. Grab some of those down. My apprentice is restoring canes.
And presumably you press them in the same way that your leg presses. You don't tap the horse.
Yeah. There's one. That's the longest. That's the maid's one. So you can see that they're about as thick as the top of a dressage whip. Yeah. So. And they're not whippy.
No.
So that takes your whip. We had a horse that was a done 4 years at a college, came down. They said it's dangerous. Don't do anything. Don't stick it. Walks a million miles an hour. Don't face it at something that you don't want to go over. So we popped a side saddle on it. Second time he went out to a show.
Super.
They really don't normally take any notice. A lot of the quirkier.
Isn't that interesting?
A lot of them, they'll prefer it because you sit still.
Yeah.
You don't want anything. Bucking isn't an issue because you've got an emergency grip. You grip up with your lower leg, you cross your top leg over, hold the pommel, hold the balance strap, and basically the saddle's got to come off before you do.
So the balance strap, you described the balance strap. You've left a saddle here. We've been putting it on and off Jupiter. I know what a saddle strap is. Do you want to just describe the girths and what they do?
Yeah, oh, Lordy. They're also very heavy. Right, so can you see it?
Yeah, we can see that. Where's Joanna? Get her to hold it.
There you go. My lovely assistant, ladies. Right, okay, so you've got your stirrup. Only one. You only need one. Now this is a Champion and Wilton fitting. Right, so that way.
I'll take that comment off, it's in the way.
Bottom here, right leg, and then it comes around, and your right leg's going to sit down here. Your left leg doesn't actually touch this unless it's an emergency. That
okay.
Up, you can put that leg down there and cross. You can hold your balance strap, which is here, which this goes on a diagonal round to the front, and you've got your normal girth, and then this is your overgirth. So if you hold your balance strap, your right shoulder is always back, because if you're going to come off, it's because you.
Yes.
In times of stress, everybody assumes a fetal position.
Yes.
You get a fetal position because your legs are over that side. You then have automatically.
You're on your way down.
So you're on your way out. So if you've got your shoulder back and you sit up, you can grip onto that, hold your balance strap. Saddle's got to come off.
So is the balance strap as much to do with the psychological help to get you to put your right shoulder back as it is to hanging on to something?
Yes. Yeah. Because you could hold the pommel.
But then you're still on your way down. Yeah.
You do that, you sit up.
So a lot of the saddles you were telling us are historical or old or 100 years old or...
That one is mine, and that's 19... I think that one's 20. There's one on here that Joanna's building, and we've just taken that label off. That's 1910. And that'll be going... We're just doing the pommel and getting everything else sorted on that. That'll be ridden on in about 3 weeks' time. So
is there a favourite historical saddle that is kind of like, oh yeah, I've got a 1910, and everybody wants a 1910 designed by Kimberly Scott or something?
Generally, there's several makes, and if you're going to go with the old names, we're refurbishing saddles now that are 100 years old. So I can make that one's being done. It's the same as the one with Zana. Hers is old. Right. That one's an Owen. That
one's an Owen.
That one's looks absolutely brand new.
It does.
Still 100 years old. The inside, the actual frame of the saddle is still 100 years old. So we can.
And the trees are made of wood, are they? Yeah. Steamed wood.
Beech. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, so you can see underneath. So this is an old one. This is an old Champion and Wilton. It's been reinforced for jumping. This is your tree. Now they're sort of carved and steamed and laminated. This one has been done for an amputee. Can you see?
Okay, yes.
Normally, you have a pommel that finishes, and this
Yeah.
one goes round a corner.
Yes.
This one then has given you more support for a leg.
Yeah.
And they bought these out for the amputees, and people have gone, actually, I really like to jump on them. So
Okay, yeah.
And that one's... Can't see.
And you make new ones as well?
Yep. New tree.
So, yes, because obviously you've said there's all these great things that you can do. You can go hunting, and you can go jumping, and you can do competitions, and you can go racing, but you don't want to be giving out a 100-year-old saddle that you just refurbished and have someone go crashing about through the countryside on it, because otherwise there won't be.
Most people
really?
Yeah. And we get them in and we have to repair them, and yeah.
So most people use their saddles to the full and will continue to do so, and you just keep refurbishing them when
it gets to a point that you can only refurbish something so many times, and we're starting to come to the end of how many times you can weld a tree, how many times you can rebuild it, how many times that you can take the whole thing apart that was never meant to come apart and put a new bit in. Unfortunately, now we've only got one manufacturer that will make the trees. So if your horse happens to fit that tree, that's brilliant. If the tree doesn't fit the horse, then we haven't got the choice. And it's because a side saddle tree takes, they say they can make 10 stride trees for every one side saddle tree.
Okay.
It's not cost effective. So if anybody knows any tree manufacturers out there that want to have a go,
or get yourself a 3D printer. Start printing them. So I've got a question from Pamela asking about the size of the rider. Can a plus size rider manage side saddle?
I do. And there's a lot bigger than me. Yes, of course they can. There shouldn't be any setback to you. As long as you're a balanced rider, it's been proved that a bigger, heavier person, if they're balanced, rides lighter than an unbalanced, lighter person.
We have the same in horseback archery. It all depends on the person and very little to do with weight.
Yeah.
So someone my size and weight who's a couch potato will ride a lot heavier than someone half my weight again who rides regularly and can carry themselves and balance.
Yeah. No, I carry on riding because they turn around. I'm 58 and I'm not 20 and I'm not blonde and stick thin. And you think, well, damn it, why shouldn't I? As long as it makes you smile, everybody should be able to do it. If you enjoy it, do it.
So what's the Bible? There's always a book in some discipline. Everyone's like, oh, have you read? What's the Bible? What's some good reads?
By Margaret Houblon.
Oh, let me write that down. How do you spell that, Margaret?
Houblon.
Houblon. Hublon. Houblon. It's called Side Saddle.
Yeah. All of the books that are Bibles are from back in the day, really.
Yeah.
So yes, we're always on the lookout for them. But yeah, go to a proper side saddle instructor.
Of course, I assume. Oh no, actually, I just interrupted them when I shouldn't have. So go to a side saddle instructor. Where are we going to find one of them?
On the SSA website. That will.
Okay.
On the Side Saddle Association website, they'll have a list of all the instructors. Or if you get hold of your area chairman, there's a map and it'll tell you which area you're in. If you get hold of your area chairman, they'll be able to put you in contact with it. You don't have to buy a side saddle. I know they're horrendously expensive.
How much are they?
New ones are probably between £3,500 and £4,000. And your refurbs will be almost that. It's just the amount of work that goes into them. But you can rent them, and you can you can hire a side saddle, you can hire a habit. And
do you hire both?
I don't hire both. I hire the side saddles. I think if I started stocking up on side saddle habits as well, my husband might divorce me.
And
bedrooms, they sort of grow side saddles. He thought we had about 4.
And a quick word, if you don't mind, about Zana's costume. Your daughter designed it, fabricated it.
She made it. It was inspired by the costume that was worn by Lady W. I have no idea. She's really into her history. Bless her. She came out on a private viewing that we had at the V&A to see some of the costumes that weren't, or see some of the side saddle habits that weren't on display.
Yeah.
So we were able to see some from the 1700s and absolutely stunning. And
so is she a costumier, and it's a coincidence that she's got a outlet in your side saddle world? Sorry, what was her name? What is it? Alex
Barnett.
Alexandra Barnett.
Sorry, she got married, didn't she?
Oh right, what's her name?
Married how many years?
What's her name, Joanna?
Joanna? No, that's Victoria.
Oh.
Joanna's at college. She's doing her exam today.
Okay. So it's Alexandra, name of a husband that we've forgotten. What?
He'll slaughter me for that, bless him.
And what's the name of her company?
Park Lady.
Park Lady Costumes. Yeah. Let me just write that in. And of course, I haven't introduced your company. Would you like to say a few words while I write Park Lady down?
Saddlery.
Costumes. And your
Warehouse Saddlery.
Warehouse Saddlery. So what's going on this year with coronavirus and the side saddle scene?
Not a lot.
Not a lot.
Everything has been cancelled. So our nationals were in August. They've been cancelled. There is a good show, an online show called Show at Home.
Oh, let me write that down, because that was my next question. You've already preempted it. What can people see online? So what's it called? Online?
It's called Show at Home.
Show at Home.
Now they're doing it's not a photo show. They give you a set show, you video it, it gets sent in, goes to a panel judge, and they give you your marks, and they'll.
Well, that sounds fun.
Back. That's a stride, in hand, and a side, and I think this month it's international as well. But,
okay.
That was good fun. That was good fun.
But normally there'd be a series of regional events culminating at one event at Addington, was it?
Yeah, Addington Manor, we have it normally. And this year there's not.
Oh, look at that. I was just looking at the questions, and we've got Amy here saying, ask Clare to talk about the online show. So, so there we are. We've done that. Maggie says, let me just bob that up for you. Can you put a side saddle on any horse, like a thoroughbred, or do they need to be a special build? And I'll add on to that question. Traditionally, what kind of horses were side saddle?
Right. Thoroughbreds, blood types. Traditionally, we struggle more now trying to use side saddles on warm bloods and cob. You would never have ridden a cob. It pulled a cart. Yeah, you didn't do it. So yeah, traditionally it would have been a blood horse. I've got side saddle on my Irish Draft. You've got side saddle on an Irish cob, and Alexandra's got the pony. So super. Yeah, you can get them on most things.
So finally, later on tonight, I understand you're going to add on some links and various things that you want to do for anybody who's interested. So if you've got a question, and we end this broadcast because we're going to end in a minute. If you've got a question, ask it now. But if you think of a question that you wish you'd asked, Claire's going to be going through the questions later anyway to answer and put any links to, I don't know, to what? To your websites, to the Park Lady website, to
Quest.
any show.
Yeah, we'll put it up for Quest as well if anybody needs funding for that. Yeah, we'll put well, I have to wait until Joanna gets back because she's the actual one who can.
Yeah,
she's
the
queen of
techie.
social media, bless her.
The techie.
She wanted to be here today, but she's actually doing her final exam today, so she'll be able to qualify tomorrow.
Oh, how exciting! Oh, that's great! Congratulations!
That's one good thing that came out of Corona. Because she wasn't due to finish for months and months and months, and because they can't get people to go in, they've got to only have the people that can commute, and we're only half an hour away from the training centre. Joanna's gone in more times than she needs to go and finish early. She's now starting to do her own side saddle and get cracking.
So. Lovely. So we've got a question from Marveth. Is this correct? Do you find the horse takes to the habit well initially? Marveth, are you talking about the traditional costume? Just remind us again, Claire, remind us again the difference between a habit and a costume.
Right. A habit has a safety skirt, so it'll have an apron. It looks really odd when you're not on the horse. So it's short on one side, long on the other.
And that's supposed to completely cover both legs on the left-hand side, is it?
Yes, a lady never shows her right leg.
Oh, yeah, it's already got in trouble for that, for her costume. We're going to have to go and take those photos again.
With a costume, you generally have a long flowing skirt. So you don't see the leg with that. Most horses don't take a blind bit of notice. The only thing I would say is with the costumes, don't get ones that have had curtain weights put in the seam, in the hem. People have used a lighter fabric and they put curtain weights.
Oh, we've had loads of costumes and they usually have that in.
Yeah, no, not for a horse. Because when you're cantering and it gets a big swing going up and then it starts whacking the horse underneath its tummy or on its hop, it tends to get a bit grumpy. Yeah, that should be weighted by material. So it either has a leather lining or canvas lining between the hem and everything. So, yeah, not curtain weights.
Not curtain weights making the horse bike, because then one tends to lose the elegance.
Yes, but you sit by the same thing. You don't want your skirt flipping up because, yeah, that's just not elegant at all, is it?
Okay, last question. Which is more stable, sitting astride or side saddle?
Side saddle.
They are, ladies and gentlemen.
If the horse pulls, you're anchored, so it can't pull you forwards. My cob, if it decides to yank its head down, I'm straight up its neck. So no, absolutely side saddle.
You can also put a small child on a bigger horse.
Yeah, small child on a much bigger horse because they can hold a much bigger horse side saddle than they can astride because the horse can't pull them around.
In your opinion, would it make better horse people if everybody had to have a side saddle?
I think everybody would be a better horse person if they had to go at everything.
Well,
a lot of horse people would poo-poo carriage driving, and it wasn't until I had a motorcycle accident and had to learn to drive because I couldn't ride for 3 years, that you actually realise how much that would feed back into your general riding. So it's exactly the same. But yes, I think everybody should have a go at everything.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for coming and doing it. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we go? Now's your chance, but thank you so much for coming on, explaining so much about side saddle. If there's a question I didn't ask, something I haven't covered, guys, it's going to continue on replay. Stick any further questions in the comments. And in the meantime, thank you very, very much. I've been so excited to do this, and it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. So thank you very much.
Next.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely day.
And you. Take care.
Bye-bye. Bye. And there we go. That was absolutely brilliant. Come back to this later tonight. If you want to see the links that they've got to various things, they've got to wait for their techno to put it in. And thank you all very much for joining and for your questions. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow for another interview, which is great, from Australian horsemanship inventor, founder, practitioner, Jason Webb, who lives not too far from me. So he's going to be here at 11 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll do exactly the same. Get a hold of any questions that you want to speak to him. On the whole, I'm quite happy to answer questions about rider confidence, but I get questions about training horses. I have less expertise in training horses because obviously I've only trained the 20 or 30 that we've had over the years. Jason, on the other hand, is in a different league entirely. So if you've got your horse training questions, it's going to be an absolutely fabulous interview. So make sure that you're here tomorrow at 11 o'clock. It's going to be fantastic. Get your questions ready, and hopefully we'll see you then. Bye, everybody. Have a lovely day. Thank you.